A single soccer player cost a club $200 million, and he didn't even have to get injured, get suspended, or fail on the pitch. All he had to do was leave. In 2017, Paris Saint-Germain paid €222 million to sign Neymar from Barcelona. That number alone shattered the previous world record. Paul Pogba's move to Manchester United a year earlier looked like pocket change by comparison. But here's what almost nobody talks about. That fee wasn't even supposed to be payable. Clubs set release clauses that high on purpose, not as a price, but as a wall. A number so absurd no one would ever actually pay it. PSG paid it anyway. And when they tried, La Liga initially refused to accept the money because buyout clauses in Spain aren't paid to the club directly, they're paid through the league itself. A tiny legal quirk almost nobody understands, and it nearly derailed the biggest transfer in history. But the real cost of losing Neymar wasn't the check PSG wrote, it was what happened after. Barcelona had €222 million sitting in the bank, and instead of spending it wisely, they panicked. They tried to replace one irreplaceable player with three expensive ones. Ousmane Dembele for €148 million, Felipe Coutinho for €135 million, Antoine Griezmann for €120 million, nearly €400 million combined. When Barcelona eventually sold all three, they got back about $90 million. That's not a bad transfer window, that's a financial crater. By 2020, Barcelona's debt had climbed past €1 billion. Their wage bill hit 103% of total revenue, meaning they were paying out more in salaries than the entire club brought in. It got so bad they couldn't even re-sign Lionel Messi. One release clause, activated in 2017, helped force out the greatest player in club history 4 years later. And here's the part that should really surprise you. That same Neymar transfer is still under criminal investigation right now, almost a decade later. French authorities have raided tax offices in Paris, digging into whether the deal involved improper tax advantages arranged with people close to PSG's leadership. Most fans think that transfer ended in 2017. Legally, it never really did. Now, you'd think the $200 million number is at least honest. It's not. Most of that fee doesn't even hit a club's books as one lump sum. Through an accounting trick called amortization, clubs spread the cost across the length of a player's contract. Sign someone for $100 million on a 5-year deal, and it only shows up as $20 million a year in losses. Chelsea took this to an extreme, signing players to contracts as long as 8 years just to shrink the yearly number even further, until European regulators finally shut that loophole down and capped it to 5 years. Then there's the money nobody puts in headlines at all. In 2023 alone, clubs worldwide spent $1.37 billion just on agent fees, more than double what they spent the year before. That's money on top of the transfer fee, on top of the wages, that almost never gets mentioned when we talk about a player's cost. And ownership itself has become part of the game. Clubs today are increasingly owned in networks, one billionaire or fund controlling multiple teams across different countries. Chelsea and Strasbourg share an owner. Manchester City and Girona share an owner. Players get transferred between them, sometimes for tens of millions, then loaned straight back to the club they came from. Nothing illegal, but it means a $200 million player can now be a number one ownership group in events entirely on its own. Investigators have warned this kind of web is exactly the environment where money laundering hides best. Regulators are now chasing something even harder to prove: shared staff, shared scouting, secret trusts between commonly owned clubs designed to dodge spending rules altogether. So the next time you hear a transfer fee, remember, that number is barely half the story. The real cost shows up years later, buried in debt, tax investigations, and ownership structures built specifically so you'll never see the full picture. If breaking down where football's money actually goes is your thing, you know what to do. Subscribe, because this is just the beginning.